Hey, hello everyone. Last time we left off with basically our asteroids rocking down towards the player, and this time we're actually going to do the collision between the player and the asteroids. Then we're going to create some sort of explosion. You can already find the file here. It will be also in the description of the video, and then you can just add it to assets over here. So for me, it's already added. It's here. And then we're also going to cover the collision a bit, and then the bullets as well. Yes, bullets. So let's go with our, I don't want to save it. I have something which supposedly, let's save it, some leftover. All right, let's first just implement our collision, and what we're going to use is a bounding box collision. Sort of works like this. So how it will work in our case? Well, let's just say we have rectangle 1, rectangle 2. Are they colliding? They're not colliding. We have rectangle 1, right? And then rectangle 2. Here is intersection. They're colliding. They're colliding. And the check is kind of explained here. So we're just going to edit. Intersects other rectangle. And then let's just see the method here. It's about the same as this one, so it's just collision between the two rectangles. It checks for it. Let's just save everything. But actually we're not colliding yet, so it's not important right now. Let's just implement it in our enemy manager. So let's just see. No collision. We actually need to implement it in our enemy manager. Let's just say that here we're going to pass the players where private player, not plugin array. It should be player. And then somewhere here, let's just say here I like description of this older one. Enemy is out of screen, and then here enemy player collision. So if enemy direct intersects our player direct, so with this axis aligned bounding box, it's just important that the rectangles themselves are not rotating, but they're not actually. So our draw rect always stays the same, but the rotation is handled in draw sprite, right? If you remember, the vertices are rotating, the draw rectangle does not. So that's all right. And in just for our player somewhere, actually we need to paste this here. So let's just can I close this one? I can. Let's just pass our player here. So let's just say player. And maybe I should break it down a bit more lines so that it's clearer. And in our enemy manager, our draw rect from the player needs to be public because we actually need it now. So do collisions work? No, they're not working for some reason. Let's just check why. Actually, they might be working. Enemy active is false. If I saved it here, it usually happens because I don't save the file so that it doesn't reload. And now it works. You can already see it. Collision works. All right. I mean, it could be more precise if we did pixel perfect collision. So now the issue is this, right? Our player rectangle sort of looks something like this, so it doesn't fill this area. If there is collision with this area or this area or this area here, it will still collide, right? Because we cannot cover these edges. And we could implement pixel perfect collision, but that's way too complex and way too expensive for a simple game. What you can also do is implement circle collision and then have two types of collision, maybe circle circle and then rectangle rectangle. So that's also one of the solutions. We're not going to do it because it's a simple game, and you can probably do some research. Other type collision that I want usually like to do is circle circle collision, but it's probably enough for this video to just have this. So anyway, I'm talking too much. Let's focus on our explosion. So for explosion, I'm just going to create a simple explosion. class, export class, explosion. So here, if you take a look at explosion, if I zoom in somehow, all right, I found the zoom in button, which is nice. So our explosion here is this frame, right? It has frames. It's to 128 by 128, so this gives us the 32 per, well, basically per frame, right? So this one is 32, this one is 32 by 32, you get the idea. And it's sort of going to work like this. So we draw the source rect here, draw the source rect here, so draw the source rect here. So we're going in this direction. When we reach the end, we're just going to move here and then move here, right? So that's how our animation is going to work. So let's implement just that. So let's go to our explosion, and we're also going to use explosion manager here as well a bit later, but let's just implement the explosion for fully. So we're going to have some time to next frame, and this sort of works good for me. So we're going to have not private, it's going to be public. Playing is true. Then we're going to have this idea of time to next frame, or just time. I'm just going to use time, but you can also call it time to next frame. It's a bit clear, but and this is going to be of type rect. So no, we're not going to use texture. While we're at the texture, we can actually load the texture because I haven't done that. I actually did it. So you kind of need to do this because I was testing this, and so you just need to create explosion texture and then load it. So once you added your explosion texture to assets, just make sure that it's loaded. So now back to this. So we're going to need draw rect. So we're going to need current column and then current row as well. So private read only number of columns, number of rows, right? In our well, basically our sprite sheet of explosion, and it's actually 32. And here as well, this is not important. We're actually going to set our rectangle from whatever the size of the asteroid is. So you're going to see how it works. So we're going to have some play, draw rect here, and then rect. So here we're going to set playing to true, reset time, reset current row and current column, and then just copy direct. We're going to create copy. So the idea of copy direct is you can see this guy is smaller, this guy is bigger. So if our asteroid is smaller, we kind of want to create the explosion this big. If our asteroid is bigger, we kind of want to create the explosion this big. All right, so let's implement our update method. So usual delta time. So here, first of all, we're going to check if it's playing. All right, if it's playing, we're going to increase the time. If our time to next frame, if our time is greater than time to next frame, we kind of increase the column. And then, if our current column is greater than these columns, so it means like this. If we look at the explosion, so we have our column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, but they index 0, so 0, 1, 2, 3, and if it's greater then we need to increase the row. So so once we're here at the end, right, this is columns, we increase the row and then go rows. So let's check this. Is playing is false, and then I can also this current row is 0. So that should work generally. Let's just implement draw as well. And here, I just need to import the content. Here it's usual stuff. So first of all, we actually need to say source rect, right? We actually need to move the source rect to appropriate frame. And then we can just draw everything. So let's just create now explosion manager. Explosion. export class explosion manager. So how it will look like? We're going to have private explosions, some pool of explosions. We're going to have create method, and then we're just going to paste direct. So first of all, we're going to try to fetch the explosion, which is not playing. Try to find an explosion that's not playing. If we don't have one, we're going to create it. So we're going to have pool of explosions so that we don't end up with thousands and thousands of explosions. Rather, we're going to pull it. It's not recognizing it because I haven't saved here. I need to do this. Okay, this is wrong. I don't need this in constructor. Alright, we create a new one and then we just say explosion play. We paste in that direct. We're going to have update. But we're just going to say if is playing, then we're going to update it. Alright, let's just format this a bit. And then the same for draw. If it's playing, then we draw it. It's almost done. So in our main, now we just need to create it. So we're going to have const explosion manager. What are actually, does it have any? No, it's just empty constructor. So let's get rid of this. Update it and then draw it finally. Of course it won't work because we never created an explosion, right? In our what was it, EnemyManager. So let's just do that. Somewhere here, when we intersect our enemy, we need to play that explosion. So we're just going to paste another parameter here. So it's going to be explosion manager. And then let's just here, when we intersect player and enemy, we're just going to say this explosion manager create. And from enemy draw rectangle in the main TS, we actually need to pass explosion manager as a parameter to EnemyManager. That should work, probably. Okay, it works. Perfect. So you can play with it. You can add different texture, play with the values, play with the animation speed as well. But we're going to continue actually with bullets now, and that's last part of this video. So for bullets, you already get the idea. Let's create a bullet. So let's just see, what am I going to need? Oh, I'm going to need some constant speed, right? Okay, 75, that's probably good speed. Export class bullet. So we're going to have direct, classic. Probably active as well. So it's going to be true by default though. Source rect. And then texture. But it's actually private texture. Same is for source rect, actually it's private. So we need to assign that. And here it's already giving me suggestions because I did it for the other video. The Copilot is learning, so that's a good thing. But if you remember, we had this content sprites, right? We had this sprite sheet and then we're loading for it. So I'm just loading one of these bullets that's on the right side. And then when we find it, I just need to copy the raw rect and source rect, right? Because we don't want to modify the source. And then the texture can be copied because we're not modifying texture ever. So if you want to be sure to not modify the texture, you can say read only here as well. So player, we're going to spawn our bullet, and it's actually really not that complex. So we need to find correct position and set this active to true. So this position, it's just sort of a bit of math. If you look at, let's look at our player here. Maybe I should just move this guy a bit downwards. So with this, we're just trying to find correct position, and you can do the math where the bullet should be spawned, and we're actually going to spawn them from somewhere from here. That's why we actually do this player draw rect y, because our y is here. But then we also need to take account into bullet height. So if y was just player y, it would be drawn here. So we take that into account, move it by height of the bullet upwards, and then that's it. And the same idea is here, right? If we were just to take player x, bullet would be here, but actually we need to find some mate to place it on in the middle. So that's what this part does. All right, let's go to our update. Classic draw time, it's of type number. Let's just smooth downwards. So if our, so just speed, it's negative because it's going upwards. So you could also say minus bullet speed, but I find this probably a bit easier to think about. And then here I'm actually, it's not enough just to say draw rect, because the draw rect starts here, right? If we have our bullet, the draw rect is here. So we need to take account the height as well. So this is not good suggestion. So I can just say plus this draw rect height is less than 0. Actually, is this correct? I think it should be minus. Anyway, let's correct y here it's 0, and then with the minus it's actually minus 8. So yeah, this should be correct. I need to take a note here. We're going to double check that, because but anyway, let's write draw render. Classic, you already know this. This texture draw rect source rect, it's clear. And then finally we have our bullet manager. Export class, bullet manager. Annoying, so we're going to have private bullets. Then we're actually going to have time, spawn time. So let's do this. Oh, come on. Spawn time, it's 150. And then also we're going to have private time. Again, then you just need player information. So I'm going to paste the player in. And then we're going to have public create. This one is clear probably already. So if it's not active, find the active one, create a bullet, then call the bullet spawn. We're going to have update. So we increase the time. If our time is greater than spawn time, it's time to spawn the bullet. So we're just going to call create, set time to 0, and then this active one is already clear. And then we're going to have draw as well. Kind of same, we just go to our bullets. If it's active, then we draw it. And finally, we just need to create it and maybe resolve this stuff here that's missing. In our here, actually I'm going to create it here because we're probably going to need it for EnemyManager as well. New bullet manager, we're just going to paste the player in. So we did that. We need to update it. And then we need to draw it. But I'm going to do it here because it's going to be more optimized. Because the sprites for player, enemy, and bullets are actually from the same sprite sheet, so it's just going to draw it faster. because there is no change in texture. So we have our bullets, and this math is obviously wrong that I used for our bullets, so I'm just going to correct that. Sometimes it's just like my brain stopped working for whatever reason. Okay, now it seems alright. Alright, we figured that one out, but we still don't have bullet and basically this rock asteroid slash meteor collision. So let's do just that. So in our how did I do it? Our bullet manager, we're just going to have method which is going to say public intersects enemy, and then we're going to pass enemy. So if yeah, exactly. So we go to each of the bullets if it's active, and if it's direct intersects enemy direct, we set it well, basically not to active and then return true. But our explosion is actually going to be playing from the enemy manager, and just to make sure this interface you must be implemented right if there is something wrong on your side. But here, so in our enemy manager, I'm just going to paste it private bullet manager. All right, that's quick. So enemy player collision, enemy bullet collision. So if bullet manager, right, if we intersect with our enemy, we set enemy to false and play the explosion. So almost there. I just need to pass it, of course. So that's why I did this. Which goes to say bullet manager, and we have our playing explosions. If you're not happy with them, you can play with the speed, but you can also use your own one. Just make sure that here in our explosion, set this properly, right, direct, and then you can play with speed here. Anyway, you get the idea. So that's it for this time. I'm not going to improve the gameplay anymore a lot because I wanted to be focused more on WebGL stuff. I just did this so that we have some kind of game, so that we're not empty. But if you want to implement player asteroid collision, you can do that. If you can sort of have some life system for the player, how many lives the player has or health points, you can do that as well. I'm not going to do that. What I'm actually going to do next time is implement our well, basically fonts. So we need to do font rendering so that we can show the scores. For example, if we destroy the asteroid, we can increase the score. The important idea here is not the score itself. The important part will be actually adding text rendering to our WebGL engine. So that we're going to do that next time. And hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please like, subscribe. You can also leave the questions on the YouTube video, and I'm going to try to answer them, or you can join the Discord channel as well, so if you want to have some discussions as well. So that's it for this time, and so until next time.